Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, but we ignore that. Today we're going to be doing the 2024 reading recap. So I'm not a massive reader and I got into reading again in 2024. And I just wanted to share some of all of the books that I read last year now, because as a dyslexic, I used to have the mindset that reading was going to be really, really difficult and I'm not going to enjoy it and all of these other things that I thought, but it's not. That's not true. I really enjoyed reading and I didn't find it too difficult. And there are a couple of things that I look for when selecting a book. And I'm going to be talking you through this and then going through my recommendations and my books that I read. So I've got StoryGraph here because that is the book tracking app that I'm using. I've heard varying different things about StoryGraph versus Goodreads, blah 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 blah. There was a reason why I picked StoryGraph. I've now downloaded Goodreads as well. Don't know what the difference is now. So we shall see. So I'm going to go through the statistics of my StoryGraph first. So these are for the Red Books in 2024. These are not completely accurate because throughout 2024 I was still trying to navigate the app and I have accidentally deleted a couple of reading entries that have edited the results, as in how long it took me to read the book and stuff like that. So yeah, and also there has been big periods of no reads. So there has been like a couple of months where I'm still on the same book, and there's a couple of months that I was reading like 2 or 3 books. So in 2024, I read 8 books, which was accumulation of 2,823 pages, which I think was pretty good. Like, as someone who didn't really read before, I've got a whole selection of books that I have been reading. My average time to finish these books were 19 days. Like I said before, that's not completely accurate, but that's what the figure is telling me. So be it. My most loved moods of my books was emotional, and then mysterious, tense, sad, reflective, a bit dark, inspiring, informative, hopeful, funny, and adventurous. So I can kind of differentiate which ones kind of lean into which is really cool. Um, but yeah, so general pace of my books: slow was 13%, fast was 38%, and medium was 50%. So I kind of like a little bit of a medium paced book, I guess. Obviously, I'm just stating the obvious here, but yeah, I don't really understand pace in books. I don't think I've read enough to differentiate what is the difference between a fast paced book or a slow paced book or a medium paced book. Like, I don't really know. So I know we shall find out in 2025. And then by page number, less than 300 was 13%. 300 to 499 was 88%. 88% of my books were fiction. I love a story. I love a good story. And also, I don't really read a lot of non-fiction unless I kind of have to, or it's out of my own kind of volition for education or interest, which is kind of what reading's about, to be quite frank. So yeah, I just prefer. I'm easing myself into stories and things like that. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, Genres. Genres is really cool because I really thought I wasn't sure of what genre I wanted to read, and now I'm pretty certain. So 7 genres were present, and I'm going to go from least read to most read. Least read was crime, then mystery, then young adult, then LGBT, then contemporary, then romance, and the top one, thriller, which I'm a little bit surprised about. However, I'm not really that surprised because I do like a bit of really like, oh, what's going to happen? And also, a lot of the books that I read were recommendations from my friends and my family, or things that I just thought, oh, that's in pop culture at the moment. So I decided to read that. And then going on to the format, okay, right. I don't really know. I don't think this is correct because I think this is my format was all books. But for some reason, it says the digital was 13%. It's saying that one of my books that I read in person was not in person. It was online, which is untrue. That most read authors, no authors feature more than once in this period, which I thought wasn't true. No, it is true. It is true. I'm a liar. I've got a couple of authors that I haven't read so far that are in this pile that I've got next to me. So there's some peaks and troughs with my reading. So I read nothing between January and April because April was when I kind of started reading. And then read one book in May, no books in June, 3 books in July, August, and September. In September? No, it kind of, I didn't really track it that well. So it's kind of a bit iffy biffy, but apparently over summer I read 1,200 pages, which I think would be quite accurate, to be fair. So we'll leave that there. Then I've only done one star rating, so I'm gonna have to use my memory for most of this. I thought I had recorded most of my at least stars for these books, but we shall see. So now we've done that, I'm going to go through in chronological order what books that I have read. In a nutshell, I mainly read fiction books that are emotional, mysterious, and dark. I typically choose medium-paced books that are 300 to 499 pages long. I've got my pile of books here. I think they might be roughly in chronological order. Maybe, no, they're not. So, whatever. So, I'm going to start off with my only non-fiction book, which is What's the Tea by Juno Dawson. I've read this before. When it first came out, I ordered this exact copy. For those who don't know, I'm trans, and I wanted an in-depth look at transitioning, being transgender from a different point of view. From the point of view as a reader who doesn't know too much about it. And this is a really fab, graphic way, not graphic as in like horrible visuals, but the lovely visuals that are in here. It is honestly fab. I really like it. It's so interactive, even though it's a book. And it gives stunning visuals of Juno herself, just like, yes, I know I'm basically a fossil person because she jokes that she is old, or that anyone can have facial hair, which I know is back to front because I'm using my front camera, which is sucky. It's fine. And things like that. And it's got really nice visuals in it. And it was a really informative, shortish book. Like, it wasn't even 300 pages long. And this is also what brought down one of the reasons what brought down my page score, because I thought this, before I started reading, was a big book. This was like a big book for me because I would kind of typically choose something really easy and short and kind of slightly lower than what I actually can read, which is great. Now I've noticed that. So yeah, so like these beautiful illustrations, it gives you so much information. Just to quickly run down the contents of it. Part 1, all about identity. Part 2, trans life. Part 3, help and advice. Like, it kind of covers most things. This is also a reminder, if anyone is listening to this post 2025, this was, I think, written in 2021. This was written in 2021. So for me, now 4 years ago, for me who was reading this 3 years ago. But it was a fab book. I really enjoyed it. It's what I needed when I started transitioning, which it wasn't out when I started transitioning. It was out a couple of years after, and I should have read it sooner because I didn't read all of it, but it would have been so much helpful and so much euphoric to see that. Right, next one, fiction. One of my favourite books of the year. This is The Murder After the Night Before by Katie Brent. This is an insane book. I really enjoyed this. This was one of the first books that I read, and this is the only one that I gave 5 stars to on my StoryGraph. This was the only thing. I don't think I even gave it a review. No, I didn't. Did I give it a review? No, I didn't. So this book was so gripping. I really enjoyed it. It's not too long, but the thing is that I really wanted to read more, which I'm really glad that this was one of my first books that I read. So I really decided that I wanted to do it. So I did it, and oh my god, it was so gripping. There was a little bit of a plot twist at the end. And this is about a girl who's in, I say girl, a woman who is in her late 20s, early 30s, I think, with a friend living in London. And basically there's been a murder, and you don't find out who that murder is until a little bit later. But there are so many different avenues that it explores, and because the main character is a journalist, you find the intricacies of how she works, which is really cool. There is really nice relationships in here as well, and quite interesting relationships as well. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. This is by far one of my favourite books that I read this year. So the next book, which is one of my shorter books that I read a couple of months ago, I think, was Nick and Charlie, the novella by Alice Oseman. I really wanted to get the entire Heartstopper series, but I was kind of in my reading era, and I was like, that is what's it called? A comic? It's not a comic book, but it's like a graphic novel. They're graphic novels. I wanted words. Obviously, there are a couple of pictures in that, and I really enjoyed that. This, I think, is a really nice, easy read. It's also LGBT, which is fab. And obviously, I've seen all of the TV show and everything, so I kind of understand the plot which is happening. But this is a sequel after what is happening in the TV show, which is really cool. I really enjoyed that. It gives another element to the story that we've not seen, and hopefully they'll be able to visualize this through the art of the TV show, and I'm so excited. So yeah, and what I really like about it is the little details of the visuals, and also the kind of little chapter numbers. They're really cute, and the points of view, I think, it's just amazing. And the little text bubbles, I think this is a really nice mixture between the graphic novel and a book, which isn't too long. It's literally 100 pages? No, longer than that. Yeah, 157 pages, which is fab. It was a really nice short read. I read this in, I think, a day, 2 days, which is really great. And it was just really cute. And on the cover, it literally says, "This is literally a love story." And at the time, I really needed it, which was fab. Also, I'm probably going to give that 4 stars. So I just wish there was more, but obviously I picked up a novella for the sake of a novella. Next one of the classics in being a teenage girl, which ironically I wasn't, The Fault in Our Stars. And also this is the one that came out just after the film release, because obviously it's got Hazel with Shailene Woodley and Gus, which is Answell, got on it. I've had this for probably coming up, it must be 10 years or something like that. I got this just after the film came out because we needed a book to read for school, and I got it and I read it already. So love it. Classic, 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 classic. Obviously not a literary classic, but classic in my eyes. I've read it before. This, because I've seen the film as well, it gives me the understanding of the visuals that I want, which sometimes I like, sometimes I don't like. Sometimes I want it to kind of go like I watch a TV show and then I read the book adaptation next. And I don't know, because I've not done that too often. I've got 3 out of, oh god, actually it's quite a lot. 4 out of my 10 books that I've read. Did I say that I've read 10 books? I don't know, but hey ho. No, it said 9 books because I've technically only just finished one of them. So yeah, this is The Fault in Our Stars, which is fab. Love it. I really like the detail that they went in with the book that they couldn't go in with the film. It gives a little bit more story and understanding to the actual plot, which I really like. And I think that is the main thing that happens when a book gets turned into a film, is that the kind of plot gets lost a tiny little bit, or there's elements of the book that aren't in the plot because of timings and detail and things like that. So I'm really glad that I reread this because it just gave me so much joy and also some sadness. And then I rewatched the film because I needed that in that moment. Next book. So this is kind of another crime thing. The Body Double by Tess Gerritsen. So I picked this up on a whim. I thought this was going to be really cool. I thought it was going to be doppelgangery. And then I read the back and I was like, oh my god, this is what one of my favourite TV shows is based on, which is Maura Niles. And I found it so interesting. The description in here is very different from the description on the TV show. Like, Sasha Alexander does not look like anything that the book is describing, which is fine. Obviously, creative licensing, blah, 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 blah. And I just found that it was really difficult because this is another thing that I have a picture of someone who is a character in this book being a certain way, and I can't really unsee that. But it was getting easier as I was finishing the book. This took me, I think, a little bit more time than the rest of them did on average to finish because I did have a little bit of a reading break halfway through. But one of the things that I said earlier that I look for in books is big typeface, big font. The bigger font, the bigger the easier the read for me. And obviously, I don't want like four words on a page. That's not what I want. I want to still be able to kind of read the entire book, the entire page, and feel satisfied. But if it's too small, I physically cannot see it, which is why I wear glasses as well. So, and yeah, I like the words jumble up, so something slightly bigger works better for me, which is fine. But I really like this. I would probably give it a 3. It was, oh, I don't know really how to explain it, but I kind of didn't love it as much as my other thriller crime ones. But it was fine. It was okay. I liked it. I thought that a couple of the plot twists were really nice. I thought that it did get a bit confusing in some points, like specifically right at the beginning, trying to link that throughout the story was a little bit, I don't know, it didn't work in my brain, which is fine because I was quite relatively new to reading when I read this. But pretty good book. 3 stars. Next one, The Close by Jane Casey. I really liked this book. I just thought it was a little bit slow going. It was a lot of waiting around because this book is based on a pair of detectives in London who go to the Close to find out what bloody hell's going on, which is quite cool. There's romance in it. There is like criminal stuff in there. There is some like plot twists and turns, and I just thought that it was good. It was just a little bit slow going, and then it kind of wraps up within the last, like, I don't know, 100 pages of the book, if that, which I was kind of like, It was a really satisfying end, and I think because I think The Close is within a series of books based on this one woman, like the main woman in here, which I forget her name. I don't know what her name is. I cannot remember. I'm trying to find it, but I can't because it's just I. Her name is Maeve. Her name is Maeve, and I think there is a couple of books, or like I want to say nine books based on this character. So yeah, pretty good. Probably give it like 3 stars again, 3.5 stars, because I liked the crime aspect of it, which was pretty cool. So this is my second crime book that I have read. And also, what I found is when reading books, I struggle reading non-British books. Things set in Britain, lovely. I can really visualize it. I can comprehend it. But Americans, like descriptive books, I find that a little bit difficult because I don't really know where things are, and there's lots of location. Like with Body Double, the one that I was talking about just now, Body Double is set in Maine and Boston, and I was like, where is that? Is that like, 3-hour drive or like 10 minutes up the road? I don't really know. So that kind of took me out of the book for a minute every so often, but it was pretty good. So now on to romance and emotional things. I read After You by Jojo Moyes. I've seen the film countless times, but this is the first time that I read the book. I've always heard Jojo Moyes was an excellent writer, and I know so many people in my life while I was growing up reading Jojo Moyes' book, or like books, plural. And I know my mum had loads, I know that some other people in my life had loads. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to read it because I know what the characters look like and it was a comfortable thing. This was actually one of the latest ones that I read because why? I don't know why, but hey ho, I read it and it was pretty good. This one took me a while to read, I will say. It's quite a hefty book. It's 425 pages long-ish. I just opened up one of the back pages, so it could be longer or shorter. But yeah, so I read this and then in quick succession read the other one, which is, oh, I've got them in the wrong way round. This is Me Before You. This is the one I was just talking about with the film and everything. This one is After You, which is also equally as good. This one is a little bit bigger, I think. And this I took away with me in the summer when I went to go visit my friends up in Norfolk. And also when I went back home, I was reading this. And it took me a good while. As you can see from the pen marks, they were in my bag quite constantly. And I really enjoyed the amount of depth that this goes into that the film can't. And I thought that it really captured me. And oh my God, I cried so much at the end. Obviously, we know what happens at the end, but it was just like all the time. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And then I'm going to go straight on to After You, which is the second of the two sequels after Me Before You. I'm an idiot. This is the visual for After You. I have just finished reading this like last week, and oh my god, it was so good. I really enjoyed the portrayal of Louisa like going through loss and finding a new relationship or not finding a new relationship and then going on dates and stuff. And then the complete intricacies with this book was incredible. I really enjoyed reading it when I was reading it. This one was the one that I had a massive, massive break from. I had about a month off of reading and I finally finished it, which I'm really glad about. But After You, really, really good. I wish that I could read it again for the first time. And oh, it just gives me so much joy. Like, it was really heart wrenching at times. It was really upsetting at times. It was really joyful at times as well. And I think that there is a little bit of a thriller moment in there, which kind of really like made me a bit happy because I love thriller books. So on to thriller. This I think was my first recommendation that I read and that I was suggested, which was Verity by Colleen Hoover back in whenever it was. Let me just double check that this was the book that I read when. I don't know when. Read recently, view all. So I'm just pulling up my StoryGraph at the moment. So yeah, so in chronological order, I finished The Fault in Our Stars in July. I finished What's the Tea in May. I finished this the day after I finished The Fault in Our Stars. I think I must have read this in 2 days. So that's really saying something. Then straight after that, I read The Murder After the Night Before, which was 4 days after I read this. I was really going I was really going. And then, oh, that's what it was. Up, I was up somewhere in work and I picked up Me Before You, The Close, and The Murder on the Night Before while I was away for work. And I needed something to read on the train. Oh my god, it makes so much sense. And so much train reading was happening in August, which was fab. And then, yeah, so Me Before You, and then it was Nick and Charlie, then it was Body Double, then it was After You, which I read just now. I finished that on January 9th. And oh my god, it was incredible. Incredible. Loved it. Loved it. But I don't think how long did it take me to read that? I don't even know. Will it say when I go into it? We shall find out now. Me Before You. After You. How long did it read me? Right, read edit history. Okay, right, so this book, After You, took me 4 months. Started reading it on the 8th of September and then finished reading it on the 8th of January, 9th of January. So, yeah. Big reading break. When else did I read a book? I didn't read this book again. So, yeah. And then we're going to go on to the books that I'm going to read this year. So, let me just. So, on my to be read list for the year, just going to whiz them through. Some of the. Yeah. So, The Lottie Project. I've never finished this book, and because it seems like quite an easy read, I feel like it's literally aimed at teenagers. I want to finish this. I want to read all of it. I'm going to find out what happens basically. This is going to be a nice, easy read for me that I could just get it done in like an evening or 2 evenings or something. And yeah, then I got gifted this book by my friend After You'd Gone. I know nothing about this book, but I'm going to read it. So, oh, it's a little bit of a thriller. There might be a murder, there might be a death. Who knows? I know because I read the back. Then we're going to go on Abundance of Catherines by John Green. My friend knows that I love John Green books by The Fault in Our Stars, and also I've read something else. I can't remember which one it is, but she was like, try this, read this, see what it's like. So I will. So, yeah. I'm quite excited about this one. Then, C.S. Lewis, Narnia and the Magical Nephew. So, Magician's Nephew, sorry. I've read this before when I was a kid. I'm just going to read it again. That's about it. Just to have another easy read, because I think that was the problem. That's why I was having such big gaps in my reading, was because I either got too busy or got bored of the book that I was reading, or I just didn't feel like reading because I was like, oh, big brain, big task sort of thing. So I've got a couple of little books to go in there. Then we have a new one, which is The Clinic by Kate Quinn, which was part of my 3 for £6 at the works that I bought the other day. So I was like, right, I want to get a couple of books which I'll be able to read, obviously. And it'd be really fun to read. So I've got The Clinic. This, I think, has been made into a film or a TV show, I think, maybe. I don't really know. But I thought it sounded quite cool. It's about celebrities at clinic and someone was found dead, which is very up my street. So we've got that to read. And then one of the book talk recommendations is The Housemaid. I also nearly picked up The Housemaid is Watching, but I wanted to read The Housemaid first to see if I actually like it by Freida McFadden. She is all over book talk at the moment, and I've never read anything of hers, so I just decided, screw it, let's do that. I've got abundance of books to read now, which is great, but that also means I need to choose. So, going on to another book that I was gifted was this one is The Light Behind the Window, Unlocking the Past is the Key to the Future by Lucinda Riley. And it's a French book, or like French adapted, I'm not really sure. But it follows this girl. I don't really know anything about this book. I've not really looked into it. But maybe, just maybe, I will update you. Who knows? When I read this, because I will read this, which is good. And another one I was gifted. The next two are the ones that I was gifted as well, which was The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. Nothing, I don't really know anything about this book, but oh, there's family. As life in near future turns perilous, the pledge she made to a stranger may become the key to her family's survival. That's pretty cool. I like that. Nice hook. This is a thick old book as well. So I think this is going to take me some time. This has got 600 pages in it. I'm a little bit scared of this book, but I'm excited. And then finally, Life of Pi. Seen the film, thought it was cool. Like, apparently it's slightly different to the film, which is quite cool. I really enjoy that. Yeah. And then I have 2 books that I'm simultaneously reading. One of them I'm about to start. One of them I'm like a quarter of the way through. I don't really know how to feel about it. So, the book that I've not started yet is this one, which is The Monument Murders. I picked it because it had murders in it, and I thought it sounded very much like, what's it called? Not Christchurch. Whitechurch? No. The TV show with Olivia Colman and David Tennant in it. My brain's Broadchurch. Broadchurch. I thought it seemed very similar from like the back, and also I got this in the 3 for £6 deal. So yeah, and my next one I haven't actually got a physical copy right now. I don't really know where it is. I think it's in another bag, but I only had it yesterday, so it's not lost. Which is the, what's it? Confessions of a Wallflower or something? Let me just double check because it is on my StoryGraph. Also, if you want to follow me on StoryGraph, here is my name. It's just my name, so go follow it. Right now, of all time, no, 2025, I'm currently reading. How do I find out what I'm currently reading? Oh, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's what I'm reading. I was not expecting it to be diary entries. I've seen the film, with not Emma Thompson. God, I'm losing my brain. With my brain's gone. Emma from Harry Potter. My brain is completely shot to bits. Yeah. So I'm reading that. I don't know. I'm not loving it at the moment. I'm not loving really the storyline either. I don't really know how to feel about it apart from my not loving it. So that's why I picked up the Monument Murders to read instead. But I think I'm going to carry on because it. The way that I'm describing it right now is in my brain. It's a little bit too simple to read, which is ironic because I thought when I started reading it was going to be really difficult, and I've actually smashed through some really great books. And I'm actually really struggling with like holding my concentration with it, which isn't unfamiliar, but I was just kind of like, what is going on? Like, I just don't understand what it's like little snapshots of this person's life, and I'm I'm just finding it really difficult to grip with the stagnating stories. It's like short stories here and there, and descriptions, and obviously there is an overarching storyline to it and things like that. I'm just finding it very difficult to not have all of the questions all of the time, like, and they're quite fundamental questions, whereas with like a murder or something you're like, oh, what's going on? And with this book I'm just like, what is actually going on? I have no idea. So but I do really like that it's in a different format. Like, it's not written as a story, it's written as blog post entries or diary entries, which is really cool. But yeah, that's currently what I'm reading. And yeah, follow me on StoryGraph. I think I'm going to use StoryGraph and also Goodreads because I have got it on my phone anyway. But I don't know. I'm still trying to get used to Goodreads after like what, 8 months. So we shall see. It's only because most of my friends don't use StoryGraph and they use Goodreads instead. But I know that you can download your stuff from Goodreads onto the other one. My brain, I'm completely gone. But yeah. Well, thank you for listening to my 2024 and 2025 reading roundup. Um, I'm really excited to read this year. I've kind of stumbled at a point where I should be really starting getting into books again, but here we are. It's fine. I've already finished one book this year, and yes, it did take 4 months to read, but it's fine. Um, but hey, we're gonna carry on, and hopefully, I will keep doing these little vlogs and things like that, so that'll be fun. If you want to follow my socials, my Instagram, my TikTok, my other things, we all link down below, and hopefully, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.